Have you ever wondered why your resume and cover letter keeps you from landing jobs as a graphic designer or artist? Trust me, I've been there. I used to get rejected all of the time from jobs that I would kill to be a part of. Initially, I blamed my graphic design and art skills, but I soon realized that that was not the issue at all. In reality, it's all about how you sell yourself and show off your talents. So today I'm going to be giving you guys 5 tips plus some actionable advice that you could use to improve your resume and cover letters as an artist. And in return, I really hope that it increases your guys' chances to land those dream jobs that you are dying to be a part of. However, before we get started, I want to let you guys know that I have created a free resume and cover letter template that you can get down in the description. It's a no expense download, so why not try it and figure out if it's a part of your vibe. Let's go ahead and get the first piece of advice for your resume and cover letter out of the way, which is to just keep it professional and readable. If you are applying for a job as a graphic designer or an artist, it's very important to showcase some of your abilities within your resume just based off of the design alone. Do things like utilize white space correctly, utilize grid layouts correctly, and use specific font types for your headings and your body type. Make sure to also do things like select readable fonts and overall typefaces that are easy to understand. My favorite is to just go with the basic, which is Arial. It's one of the most readable typefaces you can use and has a lot of different font options, so why not? And another thing to keep it very readable is to actually make sure that the hierarchy is laid out correctly. You can use things like bullet points, typeface weights, etc. to make your resume more readable. Coming in at the second piece of advice, we're going to talk about a cover letter structure and how it's appropriate to address a hiring manager. So let's go ahead and analyze a cover letter structure and good practices to use in a cover letter as a whole. I'm going to go ahead and put mine up on screen right now. So starting off, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I could actually give you guys for creating a good resume is to address the hiring manager directly. You'll see a lot of cover letter templates online that say things like "to whom it may concern" or "dear company name," and while that is great, it doesn't exactly feel like you've done your research or created a personal connection to the brand. So my biggest piece of advice is to go on LinkedIn or Twitter or anywhere that there is really public information and do some research on who the hiring manager is for the company you're applying to. And make sure to be formal. So for example, if the hiring manager that you're writing to is named like Bob Adams, don't put "Dear Bob Adams." Put "Dear Mr. Adams," because that just is like, you know, formal writing rule. The next tip I'm going to give you guys is to actually open up your cover letter with a hook. The reason why this is a good idea is because it will grab the attention of your hiring manager or talent acquisition specialist when you are applying. Now, I know what you're going to say. Frostify, what are we doing? Sending in YouTube videos to these people? The answer is no. What you're going to do is you're going to use writing hooks, the same type of hooks that are indeed used for script writing for YouTube, but also for writing books and novels at the end of the day. So let me give you guys an example. In my opening paragraph, I use what is called a passion hook, which is a hook that allows you to show genuine passion for the position you're even applying for in the first place. So in the first paragraph, I state this: as a creative who has been heavily invested in creating graphics for both the esports and YouTube community since 2015, I was very excited to view and notice your recent opening for the graphic and motion design position for the blank media group. Now, in this paragraph alone, I have already established the amount of experience I have and the type of work that I do, which leads me to my next set of advice specifically for cover letter writing in general, which is to tailor your resume and your cover letter to the position you're applying to. For example, this media group that I was applying to was heavily into the esports space. So I wanted to note that I am passionate and do work for the esports and YouTube community, because those are both awesome communities that are heavily tailored into the gaming space. Moving on from the hook, we go into the second paragraph where I read, with 5 years of graphic design experience, I have always had a passionate interest in the fundamentals of design and what makes the design operate efficiently for a brand. Again, just expanding on that experience and transitioning to the next paragraph. I am confident that my skills meet the technical responsibilities listed in your company's expectations, and I strongly believe that my knowledge in design fundamentals and social media design will offer a strong direction for an organization and media group that wants to continue to provide phenomenal production and solutions in the esports industry. Now, what did I do in this paragraph? Well, I expanded on my experience and I also proved that I did my research into this company. So in this case, I restated their mission statement pretty much. And now this is where you sell yourself even more. Paragraph 3, I say my journey in the industry began in 2015 as a startup business, devotedly working on design projects for content creators, organizations, organizations, and other influencers in the industry. Before long, I started taking designing and design fundamentals more seriously while growing with the industry as it expanded over time. I currently am a freelance graphic designer looking for a home in the industry I have come to love over the years. So this paragraph alone expands deeply at the fact that I'm super passionate about the gaming and esports space, and it gave them a little bit of an idea of what my personal values are. That way they can evaluate if we line up. Next is going to be another supporting paragraph that gives you a chance to pitch yourself even more. Outside my freelance work, I also create YouTube content for those who are interested and passionate about the art of design and how it impacts brands around us every day. I make tutorials to help run design businesses, client work, and much more. With this experience, I have been able to grasp an exceptional understanding of advertising with YouTube, as well as other social media aspects across all platforms. In this paragraph, I am introducing what I talked about earlier, versatility. I am essentially letting them know that I have created my own videos for several years and I have an extreme passion for advertising on YouTube. It secretly tells them that I also have experience in video editing and stuff, which can be backed by the resume. It explains to them how I am familiar with running design businesses and advertising on YouTube, like I mentioned, which gives them a higher chance to be like, let's learn more. And then the last paragraph states, I am a creative in the industry who is constantly inspired by those around me and working on a team of hungry, determined, and humble individuals. I would appreciate an opportunity to share my knowledge and design experience with you and the rest of the team over at blank. Thank you so much for your consideration. Sincerely, Connor M. Now, in this paragraph, what I am essentially doing is I am establishing the fact that I am ready to learn and I work well in a team-oriented environment. I then let them know that I would love the opportunity to showcase some of my design knowledge with them, and that I thank them for their consideration. Now, one of the things that I always tell people who are writing cover letters is that the goal isn't exactly for them to read your resume, because at the end of the day, the majority of hiring managers, as long as there's not thousands of applications, will really look through every single one of them. The goal is for them to ask, I want to learn more from this person. And if you have them asking that question, congrats, you just won the interview because they want to learn more about you. Before we get into the top 3 most important things to perfect your resume and cover letter, I want to ask you guys a question. Have you guys personally ever felt like your portfolio isn't exactly up to standards for a job you're applying for? Or have you ever personally not been proud of your portfolio? I want you to go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know. Let's go ahead and start a discussion because I'm interested in learning more about your stories and giving additional advice where I can. But let's get into the last 3 tips. The next piece of advice that I have for resumes and cover letters is to use consistent branding. Let's go ahead and look at an example of 2 resumes on the screen. One resume has terrible hierarchy, a bunch of information clumped together, and is overall just not professional or readable. Now let's go ahead and throw up this resume, which does have branding, does follow a grid layout system, and overall has awesome design elements. Which one would you rather read if you were hiring a candidate? The only right answer is the right resume. And the reason for this is because the information is so spaced out and so even that it is easier for our brains to digest. So I don't mean to be all weird, but psychology does play a huge part in hierarchy and how hiring managers view your resume and cover letter. But where custom branding comes in is where you add your own personal pizzazz. You got to remember, you are applying to a company that has thousands, if not hundreds, of applicants competing against you. So how do you stand out? You cater the resume to your brand. You do things like add a logo in the background or add your brand colors. Maybe add additional elements like when you were established, what occupation you are. Things that you wouldn't necessarily think about having on a resume and cover letter to stand out from the crowd. Now, I'm not talking about those crazy, overly designed resumes. Definitely steer clear from those. But I am talking about showcasing your brand in such a minimal yet respectable way that A, it doesn't conflict with the information you're trying to show the hiring manager, and B, it looks visually appealing to read. And with the pieces of advice that I gave you guys during tip number 1, you can absolutely combine these 2 to create an unstoppable resume and cover letter. Now, moving away from a cover letter and overall the looks of the resume design, let's go ahead and talk about what you need inside of a resume, which probably one of the most important things to have is highlighting relevant skills. If you recall, while we were analyzing my old cover letter, I brought up one specific sentence that was very specific, and that is to tailor, which essentially means to tailor your resume to any job that you are applying to. So for example, if you're applying for a graphic design job, you will not submit a resume that has 95% motion experience and 5% graphic experience. Instead, you will submit an application that has 95% graphics, 5% motion. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. At the end of the day, if it's a graphic position, shouldn't I have 100% graphic experience? And the answer is yes. However, This leads into my next tip, which is probably one of the most important tips to have on a resume as a whole, but we will get into that in just a second. By highlighting relevant skills, you allow the hiring manager or talent acquisition specialist to realize the level of experience you have. And no, I'm not talking about those obnoxious bars on resumes where it shows like experience level. I'm talking about being professional about it and simply just putting, well, I'm experienced in Photoshop and I am an expert level, or I'm experienced in Illustrator and I am an intermediate level. This will give you a lot more respect when applying for jobs, I promise. But highlighting the tip that is probably one of the most important to use, piggybacking off of tip number 4, is to show your range and adaptability. So back when I said that you needed to fill up your design with about 95% graphics, 5% motion, this is why. When applying for a job, whether or not it's motion or graphic, or illustration, artistry in general, you want to be able to find those very specific opportunities to add the cherry on top. If you are applying as a graphic designer, saying that you have motion experience actually increases your chances to get the job. And the reason for this is because versatility is so in demand in the creative industry. Companies aren't always just looking to hire a graphic designer, they're looking for people that can do multi-talented media skills. This is what I was referencing back when we read our cover letter, and I mentioned that I've been doing YouTube. And while the position may be very heavily related to graphic design, that 5% of extra skills that you have can definitely set you apart from the crowd. So make sure when you're applying, tailor your resume and show your adaptability and versatility. Searching for a job as an artist and a graphic designer can be a blessing and a curse at the same time. The free and versatile market offers jobs with both a degree and non-degrees. But regardless, rejections can absolutely strip us from our confidence. But at the end of the day, I just want to remind you guys that art is subjective. Every company is looking for something different, and you will never know if you fit that company's shell unless you apply. Let me know if these tips helped, and if you feel like your full-time job search doesn't exactly involve a resume, go ahead and check out this video where we talk about why you may be struggling to go full-time as a graphic designer or an artist. That's all from me today. I will see you guys in the next video.